We're going to start with the quarterback position, and you know I'm going bias right off the bat. I think this is probably the easiest one to rank. I think Jordan Love is the best quarterback in the NFC North. I think Jared Goff is a very good quarterback. I think there's a big gap between 2 and 3 because 2, 3, and 4 are unproven rookies, likely, for the Vikings. It could be Sam Darnold. I would still take Caleb Williams' potential over Sam Darnold and what we know about him right now as it stands. Now, there are league circles that say Sam Darnold's gotten a lot better, and he could be a really good quarterback at some point. I just don't think he's going to be the starter, at least not long-term, at the very least, for Minnesota. So I would assume J.J. McCarthy is the week 1 starter, and that definitely ranks him dead last. Caleb Williams intrigues me, but he hasn't played yet, so we naturally put him at 3. Goff and Love is really a toss-up. I'm going bias. I'm going up based on potential. They're both going to be paid a ton when we enter the 2024 season, but I like what Love is able to do a little bit better than Goff. I think Goff is, and this is not a knock, I think he is an amazing system QB. I think he is an amazing game manager. And again, this is not a knock because what Brock Purdy did last year I view as the same way, and that got him to a Super Bowl. And Brock Purdy is having a great start to his career as a 7th-round pick. I think game managers are fine. They can win you Super Bowls. But I just think Love and his ability to kind of adjust on the fly is a little bit better than Jared Goff. So we'll go Love and Packers 1, Goff and Lions 2, Williams and Bears 3, and McCarthy/Darnold and Vikings in 4. Let's move on to the running back position. This one is tough. There are some good running backs in the NFC North. When you think about the Lions, though, what that offense is able to do when they establish the running game is maybe the best wild card of the NFC North. I think when you have a guy like Jahmyr Gibbs, who had a terrific rookie season last year, and then you add a guy like David Montgomery, who's really a Packers killer, I think that's the best 1-2 punch in the NFC North. I think I'm putting Packers second with Josh Jacobs, who may be the best overall back and proven back in the NFC North. I like A.J. Dillon. I think he might end up being back 3 with the drafting of Marshawn Lloyd. And although I don't love the other running backs on the roster, I'm not even going to name them. I just think they're going to find something. So I don't know that A.J. Dillon will have a big role unless, and obviously you hope this doesn't happen, Josh Jacobs gets injured. I think it's probably Lloyd and Jacobs in the backfield, and I think that's a good 1-2 punch. The Vikings and Bears both have good lead backs. Obviously, for Minnesota, it is the former Packer. It is Aaron Jones in the backfield now in Minnesota. For the Bears, they go out in free agency. They sign a former Lions running back and former Eagle running back, DeAndre Swift. They also have Roshan Johnson, Khalil Herbert, which are interesting pieces. I think I give them slightly the edge over the Vikings, a team that could not establish the run game at all last year. They go out and take a pretty small swing on Aaron Jones. And other than him, it's not that great. Myles Gaskin also signed to the Vikings this year, but odds are he probably will not make the roster. So for running backs, I go Lions 1, Packers 2, Bears 3, Vikings 4. The running back rankings kind of look like what the standings might look like this year. Could be. Certainly could be. So that's where we'll go there. Wide receiver is a fun one, man. There's some wide receivers in the NFC North. So let's start with the Bears because I think that's the best room. At least when you look at the ability of that room. You have a proven veteran, 2 of them really, in DJ Moore and Keenan Allen, who they acquired this offseason, Keenan Allen from the Chargers. And DJ Moore, I mean, he is a true number 1 receiver in the NFL. Then, with the 9th pick in the draft, you draft Rome Odunze, who I viewed as maybe the best in the draft. There was a ton of good wide receivers in this draft class. I think they're all going to pan out, for the most part. They're all going to have nice, solid careers. I think Rome Odunze has the ability to be the best. One of the best, worst case. This Marvin Harrison Jr. is obviously a very intriguing player and prospect. I just don't know that I love the fit in Arizona. Rome Odunze pairing up with Caleb Williams seems to me like a long-term successful recipe. So I will put the Bears wide receiver room as number 1. At number 2, it's the Minnesota Vikings. They have the best receiver in the league in Justin Jefferson. They have a really good complementary piece in his second year in Jordan Addison. I think the Vikings wide receiver room ranks number 2. This is where I get tripped up because I think the Packers have a lot of really good number 2 like receivers. And we talked about it a few weeks ago, and you can see the full conversation segment on the ESPN Madison YouTube page about not having a true number 1 receiver. Does that hurt you? Does it hurt your Super Bowl chances? I don't love the receiving room for the Lions, but I do love Amon-Ra St. Brown. Jamison Williams was a guy I had a draft crush on a few years ago. And he gets, he's still injured, dealing with the ACL, and he gets cracked with a gambling scandal. But he's able to play. The training wheels are off this year for Jamison Williams. So I will give the top-heavy edge to the Lions, and I will actually put the Packers 4th in the NFC North for wide receivers as it stands right now. Oh, man, I don't love that. I don't love that. But that is the route I'll go. Go ahead, Hunter.
I am surprised by this one for you. Just given that I think the Packers are the deeper team receiving core compared to the Lions.
I agree.
It's surprising that you would think that the gap is so big from the top end of the Lions that the Packers back end isn't making that up with how much better they are than the 4 or 5 receivers for the Lions.
It's a fair point. I think the depth it may be no better than Green Bay in the NFC North. Maybe Chicago. I mean, Chicago's got some really darn good pieces. I don't think anybody's going to debate they have the best room in the division. Minnesota, again, it's top heavy, right? Like after Jefferson and Addison, what do the Vikings truly have at wide receiver? Unless I'm forgetting about somebody. And this is where it gets a little convoluted too, because tight ends play such a big role in the receiving game. And Detroit has maybe the best young tight end in the league in Sam Laporta. And when healthy, TJ Hawkinson is one of the better tight ends in the league for Minnesota. I love what Green Bay has with a 1-2 punch of Musgrave and Kraft. And by the way, a good 1-2 punch in Chicago too, and Kmet and Everett, which we'll get to in a second. But when it comes to wide receivers, there's a lot of potential. I think it's a stacked division when it comes to the receiver room. I might wear that take. The Packers might produce the most passing yards in the division. And the receivers might have the most receiving yards in the division next year, and the most receiving touchdowns in the division next year. I'm not ruling that out, but to have a true number 1 receiver, I maybe I'm overvaluing it, but I think it is an incredibly valuable asset. Those other 3 teams have it. The Packers truly don't right now. And earlier I went on that tangent about Christian Watson and what he provides to the Packers offense. It's very important and impressive, and what he does for this team and the way he opens up the offense is crucial. But can you rely on his health? That's the part we have to figure out, and I think OTAs are going to be a good part in deciding that. So that is the route I go at wide receivers for now. Let me know if you disagree with me on the ESPN Madison, ESPN Milwaukee YouTube streams. The other receivers, by the way, for the Minnesota Vikings, just guys that haven't panned out. Jalen Naylor, N'Keal Harry, Brandon Powell, I think is actually a younger guy. Thayer Thomas, right? Like, they're not very sexy receivers. And by the way, Brandon Powell, not a younger guy. That shows you how good their third receiver is. But when you have Justin Jefferson, naturally, you're going to be high in the rankings. Let's move on to tight ends, which is another one that really intrigues me. I don't even know where to start. I think I'm going to go just with Laporta. I'm going to put him number 1. He had an amazing year last year. Sam Laporta did for Detroit. And I think he's just going to evolve into the best tight end in the league, right? Kelsey's older and already debating retirement. DJ Hawkinson is injured, so that's going to, and I know he's in the division, but he's always been one of the better tight ends in the league. George Kittle's getting older. I think Sam Laporta is going to become the best tight end in the league. I thought Kyle Pitts might have a chance at that, and maybe he will now with Kirk Cousins there, but it seems like it's Sam Laporta's title to lose, like the best up-and-coming tight end. I think it's him right now. So I would put the Lions tight end room at number 1. This is where it gets tricky for me. I love the 1-2 punch of the Packers. I also love the 1-2 punch of the Bears. I'm actually going to do this right away. Just because of what Hawkinson is dealing with, an ACL, he's not going to be ready at the beginning of the season. I'm just going to put the Vikings 4th right away. And that's not a knock on Hawkinson, because I think if he's fully healthy, this is a different conversation. But for the other 2 spots, 1-2 punch of Luke Musgrave and Tucker Kraft, or 1-2 punch of Cole Kmet and Gerald Everett. Hunter, I think I need some help here. I think it's very close. I think I'm going to bet on potential and put the Packers 2.
I was going to say Packers 2. I like Cole Kmet, but I just think Luke Musgraves is a little bit better. And then I think Tucker Kraft is about the same as Gerald Everett, maybe a little bit better as a blocker. So like I'd be okay with you saying that there's a tie. Like that is allowed on this, and then no one gets the 3. So you could go that route. But they're so close.
I'm going to make our math complicated at the end. We're going to go Lions 1, Packers, Bears tied for 2, Vikings at 4 for the tight end rankings. So good luck with your math on that. But as we run through this exercise, and I know where I'm going number 1 for the next go-round, is the Detroit Lions are the best offense in the NFC North. They have the best offensive line not only in the NFC North, not only in the NFC, but the entire NFL, especially with the retiring of Jason Kelce in Philly, who definitely had a debate there for a minute. I think Detroit is easily the best offensive line in the NFL. I mean, they are stacked up front. This offense is really good. And doing this exercise helps me realize that. And this isn't me saying, hey, the Packers can't win the NFC North, because I think they're in good competition. Just the Lions are very good up front. Taylor Decker, Frank Ragnow, Kevin Zeitler, the Wisconsin alum. Like, they've got some names up front that are very, very good. So I am intrigued by the Lions up front. Here's where it gets sticky for me. I think the Bears improved a little bit, but they were bad last year. Justin Fields was getting killed. I still believe in Tevin Jenkins, their left guard. I'm intrigued by Coleman Shelton, their new center. Darnell Wright at right tackle seems like he's okay, but he hasn't really lived up to the high draft pick that he was. Green Bay, I trust the starting 5 for the most part. Josh Myers not so much at center, but this is likely his last year in Green Bay. And Minnesota, I don't really trust up front. So I think I'm going to go Green Bay. 3 and 4 is tough. Hunter, you've got a comment on the O-line.
Yeah. Didn't Justin Fields have like the longest time to throw of any quarterback last year? Like the O-line was what held up. It was just he couldn't make a decision on the back end and then would hang onto the ball and start running around for his life, and then it made the O-line look bad. Like, I don't know if it's necessarily their O-line is bad. I'll try and look it up.
Great.
But
they've got some names. And then, when it comes to the Vikings, I mean, their left tackle, Christian Darrisaw, has been a stud for years. But, meh. I mean, he's been really good since he was drafted in the first round. What year was that? 21, maybe? 20? But he's a good left tackle. But other than him, I don't love the Vikings O-line. So I would go this. I would do this. I would go Packers, Bears, Vikings for O-lines. Lions, Packers, Bears, Vikings. I feel like that's been the rankings for a few of these position groups already. And again, I think this is how the NFC North standings will probably shake out in 2024. I think the one flip that maybe you could make is Packers over Lions. But, Hunter, have you crunched the numbers? Do you have our math?
The nice thing is we have Riley Yauk here. So
Riley Yauk.
Yeah, so give us a moment and we'll have some numbers.
All right, let's get to the numbers. Can we have Riley Yauk read, by the way, the standings and the total points from 4-1 in his best, dramatic golf voice, given that we're just celebrating the end of the PGA Championship. Xander Schauffele, by the way, terrific weekend for him. So I feel like we need to go a little golf here as we add up lowest score wins. Let's go 4-1. Young Riley Yauk, the floor is yours.
All righty. In the dramatic golf voice, let's start with number 4. The last place team would be the Minnesota Vikings with 18 points.
That's a lot of points. Yeah.
Or strokes, I guess, if we're going golf here.
Strokes. Yeah, strokes would work. Yeah, that's good, Riley. Very good. Now on to our number 3 participant.
All righty. Our third place contestant with 12 strokes. Second and third were very close. Third place, Chicago Bears.
Wow, okay.
And just edging them out by 1 stroke with 11.
Wow.
You can probably guess which team this is, the Green Bay Packers.
Okay, 11. So keep the voice going, Riley. I'm going to break out of it, though. in first place is the Detroit Lions, obviously. How many points did they have?
They finished with 8 strokes.
Wow, okay, so single digits for Detroit. A 3-point separation there at the top. Incredible job by Riley Yauk with the math. Incredible job by Hunter with the concept. And incredible job by me with the execution. Darn straight.
Excellent work.
Thanks
all
fellas.
around.
You're pretty good at that.